5:15, we'll stand for pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there any changes to the agenda?
No, there's not.
All right, then I'll call for motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Dennis? Richie? Okay, public input.
Call the motion there, Mike, on that last one.
Oh. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous.
Thanks.
Wastewater treatment plant, Mr. Ben.
Good afternoon. So the majority of today's talk is going to be involving the new truck, and Robert will take over that. I'll bring you up to speed on the coating issue with the north or the south digester. There's still dialogue going on between Corcoran, Sherwin-Williams, the engineer, and us. I was off last week, so I'm still catching up with emails, but they're discussing possibly leaving this first layer there. I think we need something better than that, because one of the guy who inspected everything, he said, don't use a grinder. Well, he'd use a grinder earlier to put a bevel on the edge so that it wouldn't seep under. So I kind of am questioning that. So we're waiting to see what Sherwin-Williams and the painters will respond about that. So I don't know, there's some stuff that I don't agree with that they're saying, and we're still working on coming up with a resolution to this. So hopefully next month we'll have a better idea. We may have to take that tank down again this year. We're kind of butting up against the cold weather, so and we're also hauling sludge, so there's really not much of an opportunity for us to take it down, because we need to get that sludge out for the winter. And like I said, we were hauling sludge. We got roughly 2 million gallons to take care of. We've gotten roughly 500,000 out so far. We might be done with the field that we're on in the middle of Wednesday, hopefully. And then we have to wait for the soybeans to get taken off. So that might be a week or two yet. Does anybody have any questions regarding the coating and sludge hauling, or any other questions you may have? All right, well, let Robert.
Hearing none, we'll move on. Approval to purchase a new sewer vac truck. Robert.
All right, presently we have a 2009 Aquatech sewer vac truck. Being that we're trying to maintain a hopefully a 12-year cycle on this vehicle, even though it's going to go into the 14th year next year, we're looking at replacing it. One of the factors also why we're looking into it is the rise in costs for these vehicles. If you look through your packet, the bid that we got in April for the Vacon went up just under 33,000 from May to August. Because they took their bid back and said that it had to be adjusted because the producer of Vacon for that body style increased their cost by 32,900 something. So we received two estimates, one from Brown Equipment Company that came in at $529,986.20, and one from Envirotech for the Vacon model that was with the adjusted costs that they sent out in the email was $529,859. The Envirotech offered at first on that bid, they offered 35,000 for a trade-in for ours. With the adjusted bid, they actually went up to 45,000 for our vehicle. The Brown Equipment offered us 65,000. If we make this purchase, I think we put that vehicle on the market. I believe it'll draw more than 65,000, but I used their number as our bottom line that we would receive for that truck. With that being said, wastewater has put aside $200,000 for this vehicle already. I believe it was 40,000 a year over the 5 years. Now it's 50,000 that we're putting away a year, and that will run through this next rate with the rate study that we applied last month, or that we rolled out last month. That'll be included for the next 3 years, 50,000 that'll go towards that vehicle. The extended balance would be taken out of retained earnings and paid back through that process every year. It would take roughly 5.5 years to pay ourselves back for this vehicle. And we would see where we're at as far as the amount 6 years later, or looking down the road, future costs of this equipment, running a 12-year schedule for the next rate study as far as adjusting that cost. This truck would be available. Well, I talked to them on Thursday, and things change by the day with these companies, but they have potentially 3 vehicles remaining this year that would be available. He said companies have come in before. He's like, I'm not trying to scare you or anything like that, but companies have come in, and the bigger ones, because they service all of the US, they'll come in and buy 2 or 3. So it's not a guarantee until we have an intent to purchase signed. This new style truck, well, with both trucks we looked at, I like it for the fact that both are front vacuum vehicles versus what we have now. Everything is done from behind. So the vacuum, you're standing at the back of the vehicle and you're facing the vehicle. From a safety standpoint, I'm not a big fan of that, because you're not really paying attention to oncoming traffic or traffic coming up from behind you. A front mounted reel, a front mounted vacuum, the attendant is usually facing traffic, and you have your traffic cone pyramid out in front of you. I think from a safety standpoint, it's a lot better set up truck. I'm recommending that we purchase the truck from Brown Equipment Company, the Sewer Equipment Company of America model 900 ECO 12, which is a 12-yard vehicle. It has a simpler design to it versus the other model that we tested. The maintenance, or if it breaks down, the ability to fix it is easier. The electrical system can all be tested with a simple 12-volt meter versus a lot of these electronic components that the other truck had. It's a nice truck. but it is a lot of money, so. That's what I'm presenting. Is there any questions?
Do they ever have any demos of these trucks anyplace?
They did. They brought it in twice. They actually brought it in. I can't remember what month they did first.
I think it was the end of August.
Okay.
And then they brought it back the middle of September.
Yeah, they didn't have a adapter for their, the style we have now is like a clamp, and it reduces from the big pipe that down to a 4-inch for the pipe that they used to clean the 30-foot pit at the plant. So he was willing to bring it back. They manufactured a flange that fit on their clamp style, brought it back and used it during that cleaning of that deep pit, and it worked great.
It cleans out very nice too, compared to our old one. It's very simple and it does a thorough job. They really thought everything through on this truck.
I think what Bob was referring to is sometimes you can get a demo price at a better price.
Whether they would offer up that demo, I am unsure, but the amount they've sold so far this year, I don't know if they hang on to a demo strictly for that. And it's something I can definitely check into.
Just amazing how much that decreased. I mean, the car don't decrease as much. I mean, we paid, I think, 300, but I'm not sure it was about 300 to 400,000 for the one we got now, back when we purchased it. And all that thing can decrease in value to 65,000. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, that's why I said, I think you're doing great to put it on the market to try to sell it, because it, to me, that seems like a
Yeah,
taking a,
and I definitely believe it'll gain a lot more
yeah.
on the open market. But at this time, I don't have it listed, and I'm only going off of the numbers that they gave me as far as trade-in. So
Is there anything wrong with ours right now? I mean, that they,
It's starting to nickel and dime us. It wasn't really designed as well as this one for like hydro excavating. So the sand and gravel is taking its toll on the innards. I think we've already spent like over 15,000 in the last 2.5 years on just fixing stuff that was.
I'm just thinking we go to trade it in.
Oh yeah, it's in.
That's what I thought.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I mean, the money we put in is making it operational. So it's not like somebody's gonna look at it and it's gonna be like, oh yeah, we need to throw a whole bunch of money in this, but.
when they actually came from BEC. They looked it over thoroughly. They wanted to give us a higher price, but they factored in that it would probably take around 20,000 extra dollars to get it to the point where they could sell it without having somebody come back right away and complain about this or that or these little things. And they also could be saying that just to take a little more off of the initial value that they wanted to offer too.
At the dealer.
They all are.
So I guess my only question is with the prices of these being so high. We put away money. We're not even close to how much we put away. This is future planning, I guess. Is there a plan out there so that 12 years from now, when you come back to the council and need another one, that the money will be there and we're not borrowing
Yeah,
264,000 of our own money over 5.5 years?
that's why every 3 years when we do a rate increase, we're gonna look at the cost of a truck and then bump it up.
Okay.
So it could go up, let's say the cost of trucks go up to 600,000. Then we'll put 60 away, kind of,
Just hoping that
yeah,
be at least closer than
Yeah.
closer than over half of it that we have to borrow from future earnings.
yeah. The problem is we didn't start this until 5 years ago because we just started thinking like, how are we gonna pay for a new truck? So we started squirreling some money away and then.
Well, just, yeah, and as long as you got a plan going forward, like 12 years from now, if I'm still sitting here,
Yeah.
you can
And
come
who
in and
knows?
just say, we have the money and here's the truck we want,
Yeah, and
Easier.
I mean, the costs of things aren't gonna go down, but maybe they'll plateau a little bit
Hopefully they plateau.
with everything, really.
Yeah,
Well, actually, minus the trade in, that BEC is not the low bid rate.
Uh,
Tickets
Yeah, it's
minus the trade.
20 bucks.
well,
Yeah,
yeah,
107.
if you don't factor in the trade at all, it's $100 and some dollars. Difference.
I think we have to factor in trade because that is one of the options to go.
I don't think you can really factor in the trade because you don't know what you're getting. You're gonna have to factor on, are we going to pay $100 for a truck we think is going to do a better job? I mean, they're reasonably close. It now becomes, if we like this truck that much better, it's just like when you go buy a vehicle. Go looking for what you want.
You know, like we had in Appleton, the air actuating switches for the front reel and all that stuff, and it would freeze up and go wrong. This is all actuated by, everything's a throw lever, nice and mechanical. Spins on a spindle that's not air operated, so you can adjust that reel where you need it, lock it in. All your main levers are all off to the side. They pull off the side easy for maintenance and to fix them. It still has an inch hose. A lot of the companies are going like the Vacon has a 3/4 inch hose for sewer jetting, which they have to bump up their pump. I think he said they average 3,000 PSI now on their pumps, which make them work harder. Because when you narrow the diameter of the hose, you get more resistance, so they have to bump up, where this pump on the one from Brown Equipment runs at 2,500 PSI, which is still plenty because you're carrying the volume with the 1-inch line.
Well, I agree. If that's a truck you guys are leaning towards being a better truck, it's that little bit of money is not an option.
Yeah, and I just like the fact that it's, as far as a service standpoint, they've engineered it very well. Easy to work on.
We can have Robert, when if you guys go along with this, to see if they can match the quote as well. You know, see if they can match $100 some bucks just to kind of sweeten the deal.
I mean, if Luke, Ben and mechanic Tim agree it's the truck they want, it's a truck that's easier for them to use and it's gonna actually save us money in the long run, because we all know mechanical is better than any computer they make. I mean, it's really not like $100 isn't enough to.
They willing to let you try to sell it on the open market and then still?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what those guys want. They're the ones that are using it, so yeah.
I'll make the motion to,
I'll second.
for the BEC quote.
Motion made by Mr. George, a second by Mr. Haas. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
The next thing I see is review the ordinance and approve new stop sign locations.
In your packet, there was the ordinance with all the new stop sign locations. Does anybody have any questions on those locations or why we're putting them there? We're trying to continue on with our controlled intersections up by Smith Street for the 5 intersection locations there. And then we had a couple, I'm still trying to find this.
It's up on the screen, Robert. too.
Oh. Wow, there it is. The ones that list Avon Street, Lima or Lima, I don't know if I've been mispronouncing that, and Lion Street, those were for controlled intersections at the point of North Water. 3 of them there. The one at Lima and Shiocton, and the Lima and North Water, or North Street. And then we have the new subdivision, Abbey Road at Clatton Highway W. And then when the continuation up by Celestial Heights, Southland, where it extends and intersects with Oshkosh Street, there will be a needed stop sign there.
That's only gonna be one stop sign, not the three-way stop sign.
Just once.
Okay, perfect.
No, they're gonna become a 4-way stop then.
Cause you have the other stop sign just below it, you know, it's like stop.
To the
stop.
north.
It's like,
Definitely a good idea to start getting rid of some of these uncontrolled intersections. So.
They don't stop. Well, it's planned to 10 a year.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Call for a motion.
Second.
Herder and Richie. Motion by Herder, second by Richie. Put in stop signs up there. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next thing I see is street lighting on Orville Road and North Point Drive.
Okay, for this one, I received a few phone inquiries about getting some lighting put out at this Northeast Industrial Park. Now that there is, I believe it's 4 duplexes out there now. I talked to Jason Bessett, and he said that they would be able to do some lighting out there. So Mike Frederick sent me a map of a few different lighting choices, as far as 2 or 3 on North Point, and the one out by Orville, and is that County D?
Double D.
Double D. Okay. I chose the 2 lights on North Point, going off of what we have around in future, or what we've done in the past as far as lighting goes. The spacing is adequate for 2 lights there and 1 to light that main intersection coming in to the industrial park. These have a cost of $6.45 a month for each ornamental light, which the 2 on North Point would be ornamental, and $6.25 for the gooseneck one out by Orville and Double D. They also have a meter charge that comes with this. So I am recommending that we place the lighting as seen in this picture.
Any further discussion? Call for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Haas, second by Herder. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next thing is discussion on yard waste site by contractors and possible fees.
Okay, I'll start this one with making the recommendation that we no longer allow contractors to use our yard site. The reason being is, one, the sheer volume that they're bringing into our yard site. Two, they're already charging, if they're taking care of the residents, they're already charging a fee to that resident for that service, and then bringing their stuff, and then that taxpayer is again paying for it to be removed from the site for us to get rid of it. There's no other municipality that I could find that is allowing contractors to deposit yard waste, brush, anything from a contractor standpoint to their facility.
I didn't think we did either, but
We do. Yeah, there's no actual verbiage that does not allow. So from that aspect, that's one of the items that I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you wanted to separate that and do the motion part of it now, or have me discuss the what I was thinking as far as, I just wanted to have a discussion on what I'm thinking to get your feedback to see if I continue looking into charging a fee for the site use. So do we want to do the first step
I
first?
think we should separate them
Okay,
and see what's going on. I know, well, if anybody hauls stuff out to the site, I've seen stuff that are probably 8 feet long, probably 5 feet around in that disposal site. It's not citizens pulling down. I thought at one time, the only time we allowed it was when there was a major problem in the city, such as earth, tornado,
Mhm.
and that type of thought. I thought that's when we allowed it and not all the time.
Since I've been here in the past, I mean, there hasn't been anything designated for that. That's why I think Robert's bringing it ahead right now to say, all right, let's get this on the books to see what we're gonna do. So
do we necessarily want to separate it or do we want to allow contractors to bring it in for a fee where they pay more? If they want to use our site, that's just, I mean, I don't know if you really want to separate everything, but
I would prefer not to, because then it's hard to adjust how you're gonna charge them. You could have a contractor bringing in, let's say if you even do per load. I've seen it run into issues where, what do you consider a load? And they'll try to pack everything they can into one load, saying this is one load. And then you have the policing policy of how you're gonna get out there and have somebody monitor it and, actually know that that type of money's getting collected.
I think one of the reasons why Robert's really bringing this to head is we're spending a ton of time hauling brush, tons of time. So if we can reduce that manpower on our end, that's going to be a benefit for us that we can do other things. So, I mean, having the contractors find a different route, having them go right to DTAC and set up a deal with themselves and, pay for dropping it off. That's one less load we have to haul on our own.
I'll make a motion not to allow contractors to use it for yard waste site.
I guess, how would you enforce it? How would you know that guy's a contractor, that one's not? So that,
Well, right now it's giving them the teeth to bite in, I would think. And then the next step here would be the issuance of a window sticker or the privilege to a citizen to go in there compared to somebody else that's a contractor that doesn't identify them.
and if you did charge a fee, who's gonna be sitting out there? How are you gonna collect the fee?
if we went with like a window sticker, they would have to prove their residency or where they're from, you know, New London or Muckwa that we have to deal with right now. Once they're assigned that window sticker, then as of now, the only realistic way we would have is to put a camera out there because we have access to wastewater. To have a minimal expense to get a camera at that gate. I would love to have the personnel to monitor it, but realistically, we just don't have that. But I have to start somewhere because I see it as being a huge cost to the city. And I want to start doing something about it. So that's why if we start with not allowing contractors, and you can make out a contractor, a regular citizen's not gonna have the means to load 8-foot bolts onto a trailer and drop them off at our site normally. Hopefully.
You're gonna open up a can of worms.
If they do, they got a sticker.
I don't think,
If you allow them to bring anything in, you're opening up a can of worms. Who's gonna regulate it? It's as bad as the parking down in the boat launch down there with tickets. Don't let them bring it.
I think the only ones that should be able to dump it there is the city residents without
Exactly.
paying.
I do agree with that
I
also.
agree with that.
Because if you live out in Muckwa or Caledonia or any of them other, they bring a lot of stuff in on trailers. And they should have to pay to get rid of their own waste.
We
They
do, we have a contract with Muckwell right now. We need to reevaluate that when that contract comes up, but there is a contract with Muck right now, so they would be included in this, but all the other ones right now. If they want to get in, then they set up a different contract for the city council to
Yeah, we
consider.
did pass some for Muckle, right?
Muckle, yes.
Residents are allowed to bring.
Yes, they
But
pay
they
us.
pay a service fee.
I'll second the motion that's on the floor for no contract.
Would we make an exception if we had a tornado or a major fault, or would we just? Are we just, just for thought?
I mean, that would be something we'd have to open up after the fact, and
Isn't,
usually it'd be a different drop off anyway. We always open up like
don't we create a
by Hatton
contract
Stadium.
at that point in time? With somebody like we did DTAC last time?
That was a contract for curbside pickup.
Right.
And in that particular case, DTAC was taking it directly to their site. Our staff was picking up and then putting it on one side first, and then they were hauling it out of the other side. But the emergency sites were primarily residents dropping off, primarily.
That DTAC contract, wasn't that parts to do with the state? Did they get, didn't we get reimbursed some of that money?
With FEMA, yes.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, in that particular case, doesn't say that the next storm comes through that we
correct.
need assistance. It might not hit a threshold for FEMA. It might have a threshold with the State Emergency Management Fund, but there's different caveats to that. Like, I can't remember what they all were, but there's certain things that would maybe kick in. It's a matter of how much brush comes down and how fast we want to pick it up. If we didn't have DTAC helping us for that last storm, we would have been plowing snow and picking up brush at Christmas yet from the July storm. So.
I just see I don't see how it's gonna be enforced. What about all the residents that are contractors? I mean, they're still gonna be hauling if they live in town. They're, I mean, I'm sure there's people not hauling their waste from Appleton out here. I mean, it's just residents in surrounding areas.
They
But if-
definitely are hauling from above Sugar Bush.
Yeah.
Because when I was at a utility meeting, Jason followed the vehicle in from above Sugar Bush. I would say
They're out
they're
there on
hauling
X.
from quite a ways.
Coming in from Muckwa, coming out on X, there's all kinds
Yep.
of trailers and brush coming in.
I think maybe Tim, with your comment about residents being contractors, I think the main thing is like, if you got a big tree service coming in with a huge truck where they're probably, have the availability to dump it and ain't pulling it off by hand, Or a camera might at least say if you've seen X contractor come in there, I ain't gonna throw a name out there, but say you see a contractor come in, you have the availability to go back in that camera and say, hey, right here, we seen you.
Mhm.
And then maybe when you're doing your fees things, you have to do some kind of a penalty if they did that. I don't know. Just thought.
Signage would be important. We would have to put signage up there to make it crystal clear.
Start,
It's only for certain residents who have paid for the privilege.
I think it's a start. I mean,
And
you can tell the difference between a resident and a contractor.
I mean,
Size of
there's,
the-
there's a lot of tree
size of the
trimmers in this
trailers.
town.
There is a lot of small tree trimmers, you're right.
Yeah, but they ain't gonna haul it in a little 4x8 trailer.
Robert, not to put you on the spot, but I know we had the conversation. Since we have the agreement with Muckwa, did you reach out to Muckwa yet to see?
I have not.
Okay.
I figured I wanted their input first and then it would spark a conversation between us and them as far as a potential charge. And if they would be willing to do that at the start of the year. And I'd also want to talk to DTAC as far as in the long range aspect of this. I would love to purchase a chipper, have the volume low enough where we can take care of our stuff in-house and save the amount of trucking out there, the cost of using their site. And we'd be able to utilize our chips in the parks, offer it up to residents if need be. But I just see the volume of this low enough if it's just residents. Because I don't know about you, but I don't have, I trim my trees every year, but I could run it through a chipper in about a minute and a half. And if we have residents who really want to use this site that way, it would work out great. We could take care of our stuff in-house and cut a lot of the costs of all this trucking, all this manpower, focus our manpower more towards street maintenance. That's the long range goal. But if we don't start somewhere, I have no idea when I drive through that site and see the huge pile of brush and there's 5 vehicles backed into it, which person is from where and if they're even a resident. And if you have some type of window sticker or that we have enough traffic going in and out of there. If we have signage up, we have a camera up, at least it's a start to say, these people with stickers on their window are from Muckwa, and these are from the city of New London. And when it comes time to negotiate things down the road, we could say, we know 40 or 50% of this yard waste is coming from Muckwa, so things should be adjusted appropriately to help with the cost of running the site.
I might be getting a little bit ahead here with this whole window sticker thing, but my question is, so I've had my house for a little over 5 years and I've taken step out there once. And it was kind of a weekend thing. Oh, gee, you know what? I really want to get this out of here. Borrowed somebody's truck, took my step out there one time in 5 years. I would have not had a window sticker. I mean, how does that get? I'm thinking about how that, because I wouldn't want a window sticker on my car every year to say that I am a resident just because I might take brush out there.
And that could be tailored as well. I mean, the window
Yeah,
stickers,
that's why I
yeah,
said I think I might be getting ahead, but that's kind of a question about how.
you can,
And that's why I threw that out as an example, just trying to get some feedback and what would be, I just went
I
with a
don't know.
window sticker because that's what I have or had in Greenville.
Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing because my wife will take our 4-wheeler down there with stuff and like, well, the window sticker would be on my truck, but I agree. So that it would have to be definitely tailored somehow.
I can show you my utility bill.
What if we limited the hours and just have it like a spring and a fall and emergency, drop off sites and not have it open all the time?
I think what you're gonna have there is what we've got a little bit right now. People put stuff on the curb. And Robert can testify to this, and I think there's stuff at that guy's house right now.
There is.
And they will tell you, I pay taxes, you should pick that up. We can't afford to have a street crew go by and pick up your stuff all the time. I think myself, like I said, I've hauled stuff in there quite a bit. And I've seen stuff that there's no way the average person could have cut that down and got it in there. So I think we have to start somewhere. Starting with saying, we're gonna eliminate contractors from hauling in, I think is a good first step. And then we go from there. Because like I say, I've seen tree trunks this big around.
And I'm there every time I mow my lawn, so I have to trim a little grass every time.
You know, we have to start doing something. Years ago, I think that we used to get that hauled away and they sold the chippings and it didn't cost us nothing. Now, we're paying for every single piece of brush we haul out to parts to get chewed. So.
I like the idea of getting the chipper and I like that sooner rather than later idea.
You gotta wait to, and I think you gotta wait until you see how much it reduces.
Yeah,
Cause I wouldn't want to have the same amount, then say, oh, we're gonna chip it. Now we're spending more time chipping
right.
and trying to haul. So I think Robert's plan to try to, let's see what it is, reduce first. Can we handle it then? If that's the route we go, you know?
Would you try to, if you put a camera up, would you try to limit it, the access to only one gate versus now you can come in off Wolf River Avenue, come in off of Warner Allen?
Camera's gonna point right at the drop offs. So it won't matter which way they come in from.
Yeah, the
They still gotta
camera,
back into that spot.
But I was just thinking, if you force them to come through one gate that's got the signage there,
Plate number.
They should only be coming in off
I was
Wolf
gonna
River
say,
Avenue.
I thought they only
Weekends?
were allowed to.
The other one's not open. So,
I just see a lot of times all the gates are open. You could, I
Yeah.
mean, you could drive through anywhere and go drop some stuff off.
During the week. during business hours.
Yep.
and doesn't mean we can't put a couple cameras up. I mean, if you're putting one up, it's only a couple $100 for the second and third one if needed, you know?
Would probably deter some of that contractor wording if you had them come through one gate, had a nice sign there, a truly a visible camera when they're coming in. See, you're on camera, just so you know. Just a thought.
I guess having the option of allowing contractors for a fee would generate some revenue.
Mhm.
I thought about that too when I read this, when I was reading the packet and stuff, because I thought, you know, they want to come in there, let's charge them, you know, and let's charge them through the nose and let's make it pay for it.
I
But
guess
then,
what is their other option? I mean,
but then
what
again,
are
we're
they gonna-
not in the business of waste either.
And I'd worry about the cost to try to figure out how we would monitor that as far as, do you charge them per month? Do you charge them per load? Because we don't have anybody that could actually be out at the site to take the notation,
Yeah,
using here 6 times, 6 loads,
yeah.
whatever it is. If we had a way to monitor the site, I could see that, but then we're still faced with 5 or 6 employees trying to take all that and haul it out there to cover the expense of trucking alone. And I'm trying to free up some time here to get these guys into the maintenance mode of street maintenance and the flexibility to do other type of maintenance versus hauling brush at least once a week.
I guess one thing I would see, if we would say no contractors, would be a good starting point. If contractors would come to us and say, is there any way we can haul in there and pay you? Then we could look at the other angle, but we've got to start somewhere. And I think the way to start right now is to say no contractors. We've got a motion on the floor. I guess that sometime we gotta take a vote.
Well, you can call the vote as
Call the
well.
question then.
So I'll call for the vote now. All in favor of no contractors signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That's where we'll go for now. Now, do you think we should start with this fee, Robert, or should we? See
I
what
think,
happens?
what I do at this point, now that I know that there's this kind of interest in it, I can look at different avenues. I have reached out to other municipalities to ask what they're doing. But to have more of a set, oh, we could do this, come in to it next time with some solid ideas, and we can kind of tweak it from there to see what everybody thinks would be an appropriate way. That's my best suggestion right now, because other than knowing what other communities do, still trying to get the aspect of how to monitor it the best and things of that nature. I'd like to look into it more and bring it back and see if we can agree on something further.
All right, I think we'll move on. The next would be consider awarding a contract for snow removal for 2022-2023 snow season.
So I received 3 proposals for snow removal. Being new to New London in this position, I heard great things from who we've used in the past, and but after going through all the proposals, having the lowest bid being $30 different, and I actually reached out to Eric Sager and asked him questions on, because of the like the front end loader being higher and stuff like that, on the equipment that he would actually use the most, which would be a pickup truck and a skid steer for larger amounts of snow, so he could stack it higher. I am recommending that we go with Sager Services for the 2022-2023 snow removal services for the city of New London.
I guess I'm also new to this, a lot of this too, but do we make them fix any damages that they do?
They should have insurance, number one. So if they do create some damage, that they are bonded with their own insurance. But if there's something major like that, yeah, we're gonna go back after them. and
Okay, I
say,
didn't
"Hey,
know how-
you did it. It's,
You know, if they busted some curb or rutted a parking lot up, they got off too far or something. I didn't know what the policy was for that.
and if they can claim their own insurance with that, then that's up to them, you know.
How many years have we been going with Midstate? Is that something?
Not mid-state,
John Rawl plowed the
Had
streets.
Raul before?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Raul has probably been 4 or 5 years for sure,
Yes.
something like that.
And when I've added up the average hours that were billed over the last 3 years, the comparison between Rawls and Sager would equal $4,800 to $6,300 a year. That's over the last 3 years. on the hourly difference.
That helps.
I was looking at this and I couldn't figure out heads or tails of what was
Yeah,
gonna
I-
cost what.
It was,
I'm kind of new at this, so I didn't. I should have included this tabulation in the packet and I,
Oh, that's all right. I was gonna ask the question. You just actually answered it for me before I had to ask, because yeah, I've looked at that. And I don't know. I don't know how many hours they do or what piece of equipment they use.
usually it's a pickup truck and a skid steer.
But it's nice having the other options
Actually-
identified up front.
John Rawl
If they
plowed
do.
it all by himself with a pickup, because I plowed for him the last 3 years. He'd do all the city stuff with his pickup. And then, like, the parking lot behind the pantry, if it got too big, he's got a little John Deere loader that his brother uses out at the apartments out there. He'd bring it in, pile it up. Otherwise, he'd plow it all and then go back and salt it. And no matter how much snow was on there, he was cleaning it up. Now, I know Eric, he's a good friend, but will we get the service that we had with John?
And I've heard that same statement and,
Because I worked for Eric too.
and I can't,
So, but it's up to you guys how you want to do it.
and I'm totally open to any options. I am just going by numbers and that's all I know because I've only been here since May. I've heard great things about his service. How Rawls is there, he's in constant contact and no doubt heard it from more than one person and now you. So I'm totally open. I am totally going off of numbers.
I think we, looking at the numbers, I mean, to give Sager a chance to see what
Well,
kind of service we can get.
5,000 is a lot of money.
And if he doesn't do the job the way the city wants it, well then,
It's a 1-year contract, correct?
right.
Correct.
There's also a third proposal from Midstate. That one seems pretty competitive as
It is.
well.
And again, with that being just $5 higher on the skid steer, well, 5 on everything. Again, not knowing, I just went with the lowest proposal.
The front end loader is at 100, where the other one's 125.
Yep.
So, I mean, the pickup is $5 more, but the front end loader is cheaper.
Yep, and that's one reason why I reached out there, because I wanted to make sure that he wasn't planning on, and I saw no need for using a front end loader unless you have a foot
Oh.
of snow or whatever. So I made sure that he wasn't putting that on there thinking, okay, I'm gonna go plow 2 inches of snow with a loader.
Well, for what John plows, you can't use a front end loader with a 14-foot blade. Because he plows the alleys and all the parking lots. And with the cars and stuff in the parking lots, there's gonna be a lot of damage. Because sometimes, like behind the pantry, you only got wide enough for a pickup truck with a plow on the front. You ain't gonna take an end loader in there with a 14-foot blade. I know that for a fact.
Ultimately, I think it would be nice.
A little bit unless we had reason not to trust the other person. I mean, that's kind of what we do when we take bids on stuff. We've normally gone with the lowest bid unless
Right.
we've had issues with somebody else.
I was just gonna say, that's something that the citizens in this town really want to get done right. You know what I mean? So I guess I wouldn't want just the cheapest bid. I'd also like the most reliable. So, I mean,
I understand completely.
We have that contract, we have to get the lowest bid.
I know Midstate, they have a
This
pretty
is a
big
service.
outfit.
This is not a.
They
Have
have
we ever had
a lot of employees.
have we ever had a contract with Sager?
So I look back, I didn't, I was through think 2015 or 16. I did not see one on there.
I don't recall either.
I think it's been raw for at least 5, 6 years.
Yep.
Never had anything with Midstate either.
Now with snow removal, we've hired them
Yeah,
for
other jobs,
asphalt.
not the smaller.
Correct.
We had problems
I thought Luke
once
was,
before doing that parking lot by what was Luetter's office. And Raul was the one that those people were the most satisfied. I don't know who did it before, but I have not heard complaints since Raul's done. So, I mean,
I still think we gotta give Eric a chance.
Me too.
I just think that it's $5,000 difference. It's not,
and that's all
a
based
couple
off of
$100
snow.
difference. And right, it is based off
Yeah.
of snow.
Is Mid-State local?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure we're. talking
And
about
I
the same
thought
people.
Luke mentioned to me that we used Midstate once. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure when we had a discussion, he said that at one point we used Midstate 1 year.
Snow removal? I don't ever remember that. Could be, but my memory.
Yeah, I'm not completely sure.
Well, I make a motion that we use Sager Services, give her a chance.
I second it.
You should recuse yourself from that.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
You work for him.
Second.
You should abstain from the vote.
Okay.
So you're-
I'll make the motion, yeah.
Okay.
Dorsey and Herder. Motion by Dorsey, second by Herder to give the contract to
Sager.
Sager Services.
Sager. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention.
I comment after the fact. I think Midstate was used when we had the big snowfall. Other people were called into to get parking lots and stuff cleared out.
That might have been. I mean,
Yeah,
the
I
secondary
remember seeing them.
Big one we had, in that one big snowstorm. that could've
Yeah, I remember seeing them hauling stuff out of the parking lot.
Director of Public Works fee schedule.
Okay, right now, as far as right-of-way permits and fees, we have no fees for working outside of the road surface whatsoever. And in the right-of-way, where you're actually in the roadway, there's a fee of $27.50. So through all these studies and everything else, reaching out to communities, just about every single one has a right-of-way fee. If you're in the right-of-way doing work, it's $50. And that's small towns, you name it. Everybody's pretty much standard $50. Working in the road surface or in the roadway itself, it varies quite a bit. I went with $250, which is on the lower end of where most communities are. There's one community, I believe it's Ripon, that is $150. But everybody else our size or bigger is $250 and up. You get more towards the valley, they're $500, some are $1,000. But I think as a starting point, $250 for working in the road surface is a good starting point for us. It does help pay for the cost of me going out there to inspect more than once during their process. The other thing that we have nothing for right now is boring, and that's more and more popular, especially with groups trying to bring in fiber to communities. A lot of services as far as new extensions for gas services and stuff, they're boring underneath. And most communities are about this rate. Some are higher. Boring under the street perpendicular is $100. So I stuck to the lower end of that, thinking that's more than fair. Boring in the right of way parallel to the road surface, a lot of communities were 10 to 20 cents a foot. So when they're doing this boring, they're actually submitting a plan, so you have their footage right there. It's not trying to go out and measure it and calculate how far they're boring. That's pretty much a standard cost. Driveway approaches, curb openings, culverts, all of these fluctuate. Some are still at 0. Some are higher than 10. I think that $10 fee is more than adequate, but I think it's a necessity as far as having people come in and fill out the form. So if they're doing a curb opening, they're sticking to the regulations, not opening another area or another access that's too wide for code. And if they're putting in a culvert or fixing a driveway approach and not doing it correctly, we know what happens because we experienced it down here on North Water Street where we have water on the roadway because it wasn't monitored back in the day on where they should put a curb, or they put an approach in with no culvert and you run into issues. So to have a fee assigned so they can come in, go through the process. I can go out there, actually inspect what they're doing to make sure that it's done properly and not causing us issues down the road. The other one on here I have is the one that we already talked about and the council has passed with the grass compliance fees. Is there any questions on any of these fees?
So these are all new fees.
These are all new. The city has none of, they have a roadway permit that they have to fill out, but there's, the only fee assigned to it is if they're in the roadway itself, opening it up to do a repair.
Other than like the driveway approach and the curb opening, I'm assuming your average citizen doesn't do a whole lot of the excavating
No.
and stuff. That's more of a contractor.
It's
thing,
usually
correct?
contractors. The most we get are like from We Energies and the contractors they use for running a new gas service, electrical service.
I just
or not
assumed that wasn't
electrical.
something the average citizen was just gonna
No.
start cutting into the road.
No, and they do hire contractors and they come on out and say, I want my driveway from here to here, and they'll just start cutting. Which,
Yeah, we can't have that either.
yeah, and I've seen, so. It helps when I have something that say, you have to come in here, fill out this permit. And that way they're a fee assigned to it, so. Not only are they paying for my time to go back out there and check to make sure they're doing it properly. You know, I don't think that should fall on the citizens themselves. There should be something to take some of the cost out of it.
And that right of way application requires them to have insurance and make the city additional insured. So the average citizen doesn't have that type of insurance to make the city additional insured. Because we don't want somebody digging in all of a sudden hit a fiber optic line or a gas line and not have that insurance behind them to.
Right.
Cover that. Oops.
Okay, we'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve that DPW fee schedule.
Second.
Richie and Haas. Motion made by Richie, second by Haas to approve the DPW fee schedule. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Director's report.
All right. This will hopefully be the last time I get to say this in a row. Avon, Lima, Lion Street are complete. And any approved controlled intersections will be installed after the October council meeting. All the fabric should be removed as of today. And it should be complete. Northern Pipe will be in town for a good part of October, cleaning and televising sanitary sewer mains. If you notice any sewer odor in your house and they are working in the area, run a little water in your drains. During heavy cleaning of the sewer main, the jetter head can have enough force to pull water from the traps. We find this a lot in older houses where they tend to, instead of sending their cast stack out the roof, they narrow it down to 1.5 inch PVC pipe or something like that. Doesn't have the venting, and when they're cleaning the lines without adequate venting, it tends to pull some of that. So I've received several calls about sewer smell in the house, and so just run a little water and they're all good. And that's all I have for the report.
All righty. Future agenda items. One thing we've talked about is starting to discuss more on large item disposal. Is there anything else we should add?
And would we like to add the possible fees for yard waste site?
We could.
Yeah, I would like to see that discussion come back.
And I know we've discussed it before, but can we add the islands on Cedarhurst? Removal of the islands on Cedarhurst? We had that just to have a discussion.
Yep, just to kind of allude what Dave's talking about, we had a resident come in today and request again to consider taking the islands out of Cedarhurst that are in there. So they contacted Dave for sure. I don't know if Tim got contacted there. Okay. So the representatives in that district were contacted, and then Dave's asking just to bring it back to for future discussion again. This has been discussed several times in the past. The board has approved on it. But again, bring it back, I guess, for further discussion.
We can have a discussion. I know when they started it out, the citizens up there demanded that you put them in. Some people sold houses. When people move in, they demand you take them out. So I guess to have a discussion is a good idea. Probably plowing, I would think it'd be more work to go around those islands. When they put them in, the people demanded they put them in. They thought it slowed the traffic flow going through there toward the high school. That's what I know from as long as I've been on the phone.
I just want it on there because when I'm gonna email the gentleman back and tell him that we're gonna
Right,
have it on a future meeting, and he's more than welcome to come during the public comment and be able to tell us why he feels they need to be removed. And just so that's out there, if anybody that lives in Cedarhurst wants them to remain, they can also come and give us their input.
Yeah.
Just
I think there's even some discussion on how much it would cost. And it was brought up, that was quite a few years back, and I think, I don't know, if you remember that, there was some cost, take them out of there, that was, it's been talked about before.
Oh, yeah, I've been on council when it's been talked about before.
And
but we just
And I don't remember what the costs were.
bring it up again and
Yeah, and just to limit the discussion because it's not on the agenda, but yes, we brought it up before. So, yeah, we'll bring it up again. We can do that.
Anything else? Call for motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Further? Darcy? All in favor to adjourn, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?